Hello. I wish I was. Well, I don't like the echo. Yeah, I wish I was outside on top of a hill somewhere, um, with beautiful sunshine on my shoulders, just like the last video where I was talking. But instead, I'm here in my apartment, which is only my apartment for a few more days, because I'm moving out, and it's a mess. But I'm recording it now anyway because there's some stuff on my mind that I really want to talk about. And it's to do with an interesting conversation that I had. Well, it's not just with my brother today, but I've been having it in variations on it, with quite a few people in very disparate locations. I had a chat walking the dog with my little brother earlier today, and I also had a similar conversation when I was at uni years ago. And more recently, I've had a few conversations when I was down on the south coast again, just with strangers that I bumped into. And it's like, they're different conversations, but they revolve around the gist of somebody up there is lying, and I have the truth. There's a lot of lies going around the world. Well, that's the sort of vibe, that sort of conversation. There are a lot of lies that get peddled around social media and the papers and the world, and apparently my YouTube videos, if you look at some of the comments in the last video that I uploaded, to be honest, I was shocked at the positive response that it got. I thought I'd get more criticism for it, mainly about being negative and all of that. But actually, no, the negative comments that I got were about climate change for some reason, and the denial of it happening. And I'm like, well, given the recent events of the past decade and the extreme natural disasters, places literally burning down that have never burned down before, and places being flooded that have never been flooded before, places freezing over that have never frozen over before. If you still don't believe in climate change and that we don't have a part to play in it, then I suppose nobody can persuade you otherwise. So I'm not going to try. I was talking about truth. How do we find truth, the truth, in a world that is so confusing and has so many lies peddled about, and so many things that look like lies but actually are true? And I was asked this in the most direct way today, and the answer that I gave is a few things. And I might not have all the answers, but I at least feel like I know how to ask questions. And these are the questions that I ask to get to the bottom of the truth and to help me inform my views on things. Firstly, why? Times 100. Why this? Why that? Be that. I like to be that. I was probably that annoying 2, 3-year-old, 4, 5-year-old who asked why all the time. I don't remember if I was, but it wouldn't surprise me if I was, because I'm that sort of person who will pester with those questions when I feel like it, when I really want to get to the bottom of something. Why? Okay, why that? Why that? Until somebody gets pissed off, or I actually get an answer. But it's purely out of curiosity, and it's not it doesn't come from a place of trying to one-up on the other person because they don't have the answer, because nobody has all the answers. And I think that's mean to use that question as a gotcha sort of thing. When that doesn't work, how do you make judgments about things like immigration and left or right issues? I really don't I don't like the notion of left or right either, but we'll go with it. How do you find the truth in that? How do you find the position that you're on? Well, that's my other questions. Let's take illegal immigration, for example. The notion that gets peddled, at least in the British media, that there is a load of, now I'm talking about sort of Farage, reformy rhetoric, that there's a load of immigrants coming over to take our jobs and take our houses, and they're committing crimes, and they're ruining British culture. This is the gist of the messaging. Britain is full. Okay, here's the question. If I believe all of that, and I was to act on it, what sort of person does that make me? If I'm going to believe that people coming over here for a better life, supposedly, it has to be a pretty low bar, I suppose, for it to be a better life here. Though I know there's much worse off places. If people are doing that, and I'm supposed to hold them with contempt for their aspiration, I use dehumanizing language, call them illegal aliens, invaders. Does that make me a good person? Does that make me any better a person? My conclusion would be no in that example, so maybe there isn't truth in that. Because normally, this might be my naive assumption, but normally the truth doesn't try to make us terrible people. The truth doesn't try to make us terrible people. I don't like to believe that. Terrible things happen, but I don't think that that the best way to deal with any sort of truthful realization is with a hurtful belief towards someone else. Here's the other question. Okay, conspiracy theories. I'm trying to think of conspiracy theory. Oh yeah, that climate change isn't real. Okay. Now, here's the other question. Who benefits when we believe that climate change isn't real? Who benefits from that? Okay, you're in Los Angeles, your apartment's burning down, and you don't believe climate change is real. Who benefits from everyone believing that? If everyone believed that, who would benefit? Well, my first go-to would be the fossil fuel companies, who make an absolute killing getting oil and coal out of the ground, and and burning it, and making an absolute killing out of it, making trillions of dollars worth, or pounds worth. And even then they're starting to catch on to the notion that actually, hang on a minute, climate change is real. But watch the narrative of the fossil fuel companies now. Go back a couple decades, and there was a brilliant campaign. I think it was by BP. Yeah, BP or Shell. And it was about measuring your carbon footprint. Sure, there's a climate crisis happening, but it is your responsibility as an individual to do all of the recycling and to use all the public transport. And don't drive around anywhere. It's on you. You have a carbon footprint. Make it as small as possible whilst we keep spilling oil into the oceans. Oh yeah, climate change isn't real. Who benefits from that? The fossil fuel companies and all the banks that that manage their money. Yes. Who benefits from the notion that it's on us as individuals to only we can, by recycling and going vegan and minimizing our carbon footprint? I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but who benefits from the notion that that is the only that is the only thing that will fix things? It's them again. So that's how I don't buy it. And I ask those questions for so many things. Why? What sort of person would this make me if I was to act on these beliefs? And two, who benefits from, who really benefits from lots of people believing this? Oh, another one. You ready for this? The notion that the government has to balance the books and that taxpayer money is what directly funds government spending. Who benefits from that belief? Is that true? Is it true that taxpayer money that funds government spending, and if the government spends too much money, then there's a big pot of money in the Bank of England that's going to go down and down and down and down. That's the taxpayers' money. And then eventually that's just going to stop. Oh, we're borrowing. We're borrowing. Oh, we're going into massive credit card debt. Who benefits from that very simplistic notion of economics? Well, what happens when we believe that? Well, austerity happens. The welfare state gets cut. The NHS, the National Health Service, gets run down to the ground from a lack of support. People in this country pay astronomical amounts of money to better themselves with a university education, whereas our parents got it for free. That's what happens. That doesn't really benefit people like you and me, does it? So maybe there's something wrong with that narrative. Maybe there's something wrong with it. I remember reading a bit on John Maynard Keynes, the economist, or great economist of the 20th century, who helped find the money for the Second World War and also all of the spenny stuff that the UK was doing after that, welfare state, NHS, etc., etc. And I'm pretty sure he said that the government can afford to do anything that it sets out to do. Yeah. If you're open to exploring that idea that the government's money doesn't work like that of a household's, then let me know. I could talk about it more. I could forward you to some actual books to read, and people who make brilliant videos about this on YouTube and basically explain that it's a lot more complicated than that, and actually this household economic stuff doesn't apply to government spending. Same for all the other stuff. That was very rambly. It's getting long and it's late, and I have a crap load of stuff to tidy up over there, so I'll love you and leave you. Let's hear the music in the comments, I suppose. Why? What sort of person does this make me by believing this? And who benefits if I believe this? Who benefits if we all believe that? Oh yeah, and the whole illegal immigrants thing, and Nigel Farage wanting to cut immigration. Did you know that he was a speaker on Nomad Capitalist, an organisation that talks about that is trying to give free movement of people to rich multinational people with lots of money? Nigel Farage is not against free movement as long as you have a ton of this.